Okay, we're nearly here, week 9. Been a long time since I posted. So much has happened since last time, but we are approaching endgame, it seems. Probably more like Infinity War. So what's happened since I last did a video? So much. The government announced the schools were going to reopen today, and probably the next day they realised that's not happening. And so Auckland is stuck in level 3. There is no way out. Waikato and Northland's still in a hard level 3, which seems to make even less sense because they have almost no cases, certainly no unlinked cases, but they're in a hard level 3. So you can meet someone in Auckland outside, but if you do it in Waikato or Northland, that's illegal, despite them having almost 0 cases. South Island's still on 0 cases for ages. The Republic of the South Island, why not do it? They've got a hard border. But Auckland, we are stuck. There is no way out, it seems. What's going to happen? Well, we had a big vaccine, and I was so pumped for this, and it was good. Brilliant TV, especially if you're in Auckland, where you don't really have anything else you can do. And Auckland is edging up to this 89-90%. Now, we don't know what we're aiming for, but 90 seems like a figure that we think, that's pretty good. If you did 90 on a test, 90%, that's pretty good. So I think there will be more and more agitation that what are we meant to do now? We've got to 90%, we've done our vaccine. There is nothing else to do. We have no more road left to run now. And so the big decisions, this week is apparently meant to be a level drop down announcement, but I think everyone is still trying to get that circuit breaker in the common psyche, so we could probably have a go at that because the number of mystery cases is now exploding. I think this week they're going to probably stop matching who's in a cluster, who's in a subcluster. It's all going to be part of the Auckland mess, and who knows when they're going to stop contact tracing, because that does not look viable the way things are headed. But overall, this week seems better than last week, where it seemed that transition to a plan which really didn't make sense, wasn't feeling that great. And this week I think there's a bit of an acceptance that this is the new world. We've probably reached the end of the beginning, it seems, and now life with COVID awaits. And so what's that going to look like? Well, nobody knows, but it does probably going to look bad. So tons of mystery cases. Who knows what's a mystery case now? I don't know how long they can spend looking into these cases. I think there's about 50 to 70 mystery cases in Auckland, and the clusters and subclusters, the definitions of those are getting increasingly hard to maintain. What we do know is that the vaccination rate should modify that, because certainly our R value is just taking off. It is going up and up and up and up. So we're now experts on the R value, and we know that's not a good thing. So what to do? The hospitalisation rate, well, the hospital's trying to figure out a new plan so that everyone doesn't turn up, and that hasn't been successful in other parts of the world, but we've got a bit of, we can look out to what other places have done, which is the fortunate position we're in. So there is a feeling as well, though, I think that once we start seeing some really bad COVID cases, that'll probably push a lot of people into vaccination. We've seen that heaps of times with measles and other things, and certainly talking about immunizations for diseases that people haven't seen is very difficult. But as soon as it touches someone and they see someone, I mean, it would be handy if someone really famous got COVID and could go through that. Maybe a leader, particularly in the Maori or Pacific realm, actually walked it through, and then people would go, oh, this is real. This is not a distant thing. This is not something just doctors talk about. Because doctors do talk about a lot of stuff which probably seems, in the scheme of things, not that relevant or not that important, really. So, yeah, so anyway, so can we get there? And I think you will nudge it up a little bit once people say, I think there is a lot of people waiting on the sideline thinking, well, I'm not so sure about the vaccine long-term studies. We're never really going to get there. So they want to see, is it required? It will be required, and So I think they might have to forge on and wait for those edge people to come into the fold once they see that the hospital is going to be slammed, once they see that you can't just change your mind and go, oh yeah, I'll have the vaccine now, thanks, and I'll be able to get whatever I need to get. It might be that thing where you've just got to force the issue. Seen that before a couple of years ago with measles. Nobody really gave too much care about measles at all. And then we had measles in Auckland and particularly in Samoa, just smashing through the country. Then we had lines out of the hospital for the measles vaccine. So yeah, so I think those edge people are potentially able to move. But we're all picking our tribes. There's the vax and the anti-vax, the double vaxxed. And so, interestingly, there was another lockdown protest. They seem to like hanging out the Domain, which is, you know, if you're going to pick somewhere, not a bad spot, easy for the media to get there, lots of good in and out access, and very open air. Seemed really contained. If you compared this to other protests we see on the TV from overseas, particularly Australia, this was like a day in the park, a picnic, which you're allowed to do in Auckland. So anyway, and there were a lot of people masked up. I think there was an opportunity though. You can surely be anti-lockdown, which I fully get, anti-lockdown and pro-vaccination, because that is probably the way we are going to be able to get out of lockdown. But no one seemed to be talking that and asking around. There's a lot of confusion about what people are protesting about, and asking people who are sort of in the know, what is the protest about? And it's not really that clear what people are protesting about. I think there is a whole lot of tribal identity, which probably is important, but I don't know why you would go there if you didn't have a clear message. So I think what would have been great is a few of these people on bikes and whatever they were trying to do is just to go, look, we're sick of lockdown, we're gonna get a jab. What was the quote? If you're sick of lockdown, get a jab. If you're really sick of lockdown, get two. And so, yeah, there was another party on the North Shore. Well, there was a party on the North Shore that got videoed of COVID breaches. And, you know, are we as horrified as we previously were? For me, not really. I mean, I think given that there's no target for immunisation, there's no target for schools opening, people, you know, you're leaving it to people to make up their own minds. And yeah, some people will see, well, this is a risk, this is what we've got to do. Given the current stagnation, the quagmire, the purgatory Auckland is in, when are we going to get out? How do we get out of this? Is this going to be till Christmas? But even after Christmas, what's the difference? I have no idea. It'll be good to see the vaccination numbers today and yesterday, because even though it was good fun and I so loved it, did we just get a big lot of vaccination on Saturday, and then if you average the 3 days, is it going to be the same as would have happened? Not sure. I think the government has missed a beat here, and they should be good not to blame us too much, because they say, well, when we came down from 4 to 3, which a lot of people were concerned about. I'll put up my Twitter poll on that. Did we come out of level 4 too early? What they did say is that, well, we're not seeing it transmit through workplaces. But we don't really work like that. If you say we've dropped down to level 3, okay, some people will go to work, yeah, that's good, but a whole lot of other more social and risk-taking behaviours are going to happen. And so it's not really just about that. Oops, it looks like I've missed where I was meant to go now. So that is a huge problem. And yeah, what are we meant to do with that? So I think that they are quite rightly saying, well, it's not because of workplace transmission. But as soon as you say level 3, we're doing all sorts of stuff. And so in our psyches, we're winning. Let's rain out a bit. And certainly there's got to be tons of people visiting people. The rules as they've put them, where you can't go to you can go to someone's house, but then you've got to stay outdoor. But as you probably see now, it rains about 10 times a day in Auckland, especially this time of year. And so what are you meant to do? Nobody knows. You know, it's quite likely if you have a barbecue, someone's going to get gastro or need to go to the toilet. What are you meant to do? Not go to the toilet. And that's what they've instructed. that's not feasible. What are you going to do for children? They're going to run in and do whatever they need to do. They're going to play. So this whole thing is, it's very unclear. It's very unclear. And when you have that, I think it's natural that people are going to make the wrong decision. There's going to be some leaks. So they're examining the workplace transmission. That's not what they need to examine. They just need to examine the numbers, because they just need to figure out, most of the cases are such a huge chunk are mystery cases now, that where they don't have a link or how they got it. So how do they know it's not really a workplace one? Unless that person hasn't been working, but they don't know the way it's transmitting. They don't know if it's rule breaking. They don't know how it's happened. The terminology is getting unclear. I think people are getting more agitated. Certainly last week, I think people were thinking the government's losing it. They're planning to introduce this traffic light system, which I think other countries have used, and it looks a little bit more confusing. So we await to see what's going to happen. We await today's announcement. I think it'll be stay put. But hopefully we do get some vaccine target, so at least people don't have to think as much about personally what are they going to do with their COVID management of themselves. The other problem is, I think, when you have this variation, that forces people to individually do stuff, and it puts a bit of strain on society, because we are comrades now. We're so used to doing what the government has told us. Now, if you're going to open it up, well, technically I can go to a park and meet someone, and then go to meet someone else on the same day. But you're going to really strain people's, I think, their relationships, because everyone's got their own different take on COVID and what you should do. And it's best to just clear our minds of all of that and just have some leadership about what is the best thing to do. But we will see. I think the PM definitely had a misstep the week before, where they outlined the step down. They gave a hard opening for schools. It just fell apart within the week. It was no chance. And so today, hopefully, they'll have the PM and Ashley probably talk about the vaccine success, which is good. And it was very cool to see the PM on the Vaxathon, just so good at talking about COVID. And then they said, we want you to DJ, and seeing her very human, under pressure, totally nervous, not knowing what to say and trying to get out of it. It was really quite cool. Anyway, so we go onwards and upwards. I'm sure we're going to get more stories in the media to point the finger at people who are rule breaking, but we've got to somehow get out of this. There has to be a pathway, otherwise Auckland is stuck for a long time, and that's going to make us pretty agitated. So we will see.